All right. So, how you doing? I'm back with you again. I just got a chance after another student to go over this factorial design, so I figured I just clue you in on this. So basically, all this is it's kind of a representation of your trials in combination with the factors that you're going to use in your experiment, and it's depicted in this fashion just because that's just the way it's represented. They're not expecting you to draw a cube, okay? It's not really the idea. The idea of what they're showing you here in this picture is the amount of trials with respect to however many factors you have that you're going to test for, okay? So that's all the factorial design is. I guess the idea really behind it is that it's just a pre-described system that we can use to do so many odd trials given so many odd factors, and that gives us kind of a general, in engineering it'll give us um, a general framework to know, okay, if I do this many factors, then I have this many tests. If I have more factors, then we'll do this many tests, right? So, and there's an equation that I'll show you here that's going to illustrate that as well. So the one here, what this is saying for you with respect to this project, it has the p factors, okay, and then it has what's called a two-level per factor. Now your two levels, basically you could think of this as your conditions, right? So it says there high and low. So that could be any kind of parameter or factor that you want to test for within your test. Okay. Let's say it was temperature, then you're going to have a high and low temperature that you're going to test at. Let's say it was pressure, then you're going to have a high and low pressure that you're going to test at. Okay. So that's all that has to do with. And then it says the combination or trials. See, so because the factors are going to be done in combination, the factors are going to be done with in combination of trials, right? This is the whole thing. It's just a combination and trials combination. So, and it says not including replicates. I don't know if it wants you to do replicates or you have to, but what they're showing you here is just the first depiction here you have on your left is just a two-level test that has 4 trials. The next one is 8 trial test that has 3 factors, right? You see factor A, B, and C, so it has 3 factors, and it's showing you that if we have a minimum of 3 factors, we need to use 8 tests. If we have a minimum of 2 factors, we need to use 4 tests. Is all that's depicting there. So I'm going to go here on my board that we used earlier, and I'll just run through some things here. So full factorial design level 2, we talked about that. So level 2 is again um, your 2 conditions. It just has 2 conditions, high and low, on, off, that kind of thing. Then this is the equation n equals 2k. In your thing they use 2p. It's the same idea. So k or p, that's going to be the factors that are being tested, and then n are going to be your trials. Okay. So the general rule here is I have it laid out here. So the general rule is, so you can see these combinations. If you have 2 factors, you do 4 runs or 4 tests or 4 trials. If you have 3 factors, you do 8 runs, 8 trials. If you do 4 factors, and you have 16 runs, 16 trials. If you do 5 factors, and you have 32 runs. If you do 6, you have 64, and 7, 128. I believe typically doesn't go any higher than 128 because it gets very large, the number of runs or trials you have to do. So that's basically the gist of it. Now I have a tool here that I just looked up that'll actually help you do this, that you don't have to. Again, it seems weird because they give you the depiction and you think maybe you have to draw a cube, and how do I put my data in a cube? It's not really about that. That's just a representation of the idea. This is datatab.net, and again, I don't know what you're allowed to use on your, for your class or in this assignment, but this is something that just at least get an illustration of it. I mean, you could probably do the same thing in Excel. Obviously, you can figure this out by hand. It's not really that, it's not very dissimilar to what you're already doing with respect to your combinations of trials. This is all it's doing is just prefiguring the combinations of trials for you. So let's say here, I already got one that I pulled up. So I just went in here, and I can send you this link as well. And so I have it to design me one of these factorials, factorial diagrams, and I'm going to design the experiment. Now it's going to create the experiment. I'm going to have a full factorial, which is considered at two levels. That's your on, that's your high and low, on off. So we have the number of factors, the number of replicates. I'm just going to keep both of those at one, and then you see here. With the high and low. Okay, so you see in the condition, I put these in here already. I don't know exactly what you could be doing on your experiment, but I just put these in here as a representation. So let's say you're doing temperature, then you'd have a high and low temperature that you can test. If you're doing moisture, then you have a high and low moisture that you can test. And then this is what it's giving you. So this is the output of the factorial design, okay, where it's saying, okay, if you want to do this many factors at two levels, then you're going to have this many runs. This is going to be your order, and these are going to be, you know, the factors that you're going to test and all that kind of thing. Okay, so now what if you put in another one? Okay, let's say you had another factor. Let's say if you were going to do, you had to test pressure, okay, and the pressure was going to be a high and low pressure. Well, now it's going to give you 8 runs, and it's going to add in pressure here. And again, it really just gives you a prefigured combination of all this. Now this gets more useful because as you see here, it says, you know, you can export to Excel. So what you can do here is you can take this, it'll export to Excel, and then you can, you know, fill out a data table, do whatever calculations you need, you know, mean, standard deviations, all this kind of thing. And then you can even put it back into here, or just leave it in Excel, and then basically it'll just give you, you know, you can get your scatter plots, you can get your box plots, you can get your Pareto distributions, all this kind of thing, whatever it calls for. But it's really just a table to help you organize the runs and the factors to a specific amount that's used in industry as a standard, and then you can go on with your project from there. So I hope that helps. I'm going to look at the probability probably tomorrow. It's late now, but probably tomorrow. Hopefully I can get back to you about the probability. And yeah, I will catch you next time, and thank you.